Rap game started being hella dirty. I'm cleaning it up. Hello, everybody. Nighttime, Paul. The nighttime is the right time. How's it going? It's going okay. Stars. Yeah, I can see some stars. We're good. I haven't seen any owls, but I've heard them. Somebody was mad about these streams. There's a comment on the previous stream. Like, oh, I hate this. What am I supposed to do with these Highdeologies? It's just Paul muttering to himself. It's like, get the fuck out of here, kid. See ya. I don't, like, there seems to be this, like, lingering opinion that I give a fuck what people think about Highdeology. Like, I don't. I do these because they're fun. I do these because I like to sit out here and enjoy the fucking outside and talk shit. You're supposed to catch them live so you can chill with Paul. Yeah, I know. It's just like, what do you expect? If you did care, I wouldn't. Yep, see? Yeah, dude. Highdeology is to poke the bear and to smoke the weed. I want to write an essay on the way the belief in abolition of state and intrinsically leftist ideology has been co-opted by the Libertarian Center and the right as a way to argue against social policies. Man, I'm glad I don't have to ever write an essay again. Unless I want to. Poo-poo Productions? Fuck you. You're poo-poo. What people don't know is Highdeology is actually scripted. The script is so good that it seems like Paul is talking to chat. You got me figured out now. You got me nailed. You speak essays, not write them, and yet they still suck. LaMayo. Man, you really want it, don't you? You came here to get, like, noticed and stuff. You're not gonna get it. Hey, Paulie, what up, my guy? What up, dude? What up, dude? All the comments Paul's answers are comments he makes on his alt accounts. Man, you guys are starting to get it. You guys are starting to understand. You are beginning to understand. He wants it so bad. I can tell how bad he wants it. It's gonna be a long night. You clip out some of your epic rants and make vids out of them. All you need is someone to timestamp them for you. Trust me, I know. It's fine. Not every epic rant has to be like maximally fucking monetized and shit. If you're here and or you happen to watch one of these and you hear me talk about something that you like, great. If not, then fuck off, you know? I mean, fucking A, dude. You guys act like we live in fucking Great Britain, right? And there's like 4 TV channels and I'm one of them, you know? Like, if that was the case, I would understand. I would understand the constant complaining, but it's just like we live in a world of infinite TV shows now. Said in a stream that billionaires don't hate poor people. Consider homeless architecture and the vagrancy laws show a political inclination against them, and billionaires are an extreme extension of that attitude. Yeah, but it doesn't come from hate. Like that's you can't apply normal human emotion to the billionaire class. It just doesn't exist. They don't put up homeless architecture because they hate the homeless. They put up anti-homeless architecture because they hate the loss of business having homeless people laying around their building brings them. They don't consider the humanity of the people. They're like pigeons, right? It's like you put up the spikes on things you don't want pigeons to land on. Hey, Paul, if you were exiled from the United States and banned from Uruguay, where would you go? To the moon! To the moon, Jack! To the moon. Unfortunately, it's a lot more people than just billionaires who see the homeless like that. Well, the billionaire class's cold, calculating, numbers-based way of looking at people filters down to the populace. We live in a culture that worships wealth. And so whether or not we want to, every American in one way, shape, or another looks up to those billionaires. We're all trying to grab that brass ring. And so their sentiments about the people that are lower on the totem pole than we are tend to filter down through the populace. Because people want to emulate that. We're told that we emulate what we want to be here. You know, fake it till you make it, right? And in America, we're told that everybody has a chance to get that piece of the pie. And so sentiments about the lives of people, once again, lower than you on the social strata, tend to filter down from the upper classes to the middle and lower. Instills a self-loathing sometimes in groups of people. You know, it doesn't even just poison the minds of like middle class and lower middle class people against lower class people. It poisons the mind of lower class people against themselves. It's a fundamentally non-human way of looking at things. I think it's something that communist regimes end up with someone at the top raping everyone else, but capitalism does the same thing but takes longer and is sneakier about it. Sure. Class consciousness is the only solution to this. Yes, 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 yes. But you're a class reductionist, my friend. Don't be a class reductionist. I'm just kidding. You're right. The moon is crazy right now. Let me go take a look at this. Let me get a look at this, Warlock. I'm like the fifth person to talk about the moon tonight. Let me get peepers on this. Where you at, bud? Money. Oh, snap. Yeah. Okay. Whoa. It's like a supermoon night. I'm gonna have to wait a couple hours and then I'll try and get it on camera for you guys. It's kind of down below my tree line, but in a couple hours when it is right overhead, that's gonna be a crazy fucking moon. You're right. It looks like a supermoon. Fill the moon with ping pong balls, yeah. Could we modify the way war bonds work and use them as COVID relief? Family has told me that bonds don't work anymore. I really don't understand bonds, so I'm not the guy to ask. Class reductionism is actually a thing that exists, but libs will call it leftists. We'll call leftists that when class is even mentioned. Right. I saw a 700 plus megapixel shot of the moon. You could almost see all the craters. Good for you, Beef Wedgie. Your bond expired and you made $9. Cha-ching. Payday. I mean, I don't know. Like, I watched a little bit of the CPAC stuff in preparation for this week's Flash Fried so that I would be a little familiar with some of the stuff that that happened, and really nothing happened. Trump's usual fucking spiel. Tom Cotton's usual fucking spiel. It's just usual fucking shit. Did you hear Post Malone's cover of Only Want to Be With You? It's very good. Yes, I did. They teach you what they are. They teach you what they are, the left and the right, but they don't teach you how to coexist with them. Hello there, D. And hello there, honey. Yeah. May as well. It's good. It's going good now. Got a good crackling fire going here, folks. And there's a supermoon tonight. Fix yourself, hair. I don't care. It's a mess. It's just going to be a mess. Messy hair, Paul. What happened?
It's just your part. A little weird.
Yeah, my part has fallen apart. Whatever. It works. How about a Chauncey? He lives with TJ.
He's afraid of driving.
Yeah, Chauncey doesn't like to get inside of any vehicle or fly. He insists upon riding a horse everywhere, which limits his range significantly. Summon some Lovecraft monsters from the moon. Well, in order to do that, I'd have to go to a mostly brown area of town and observe all of the squinty-eyed, loitering, dusky-hued creatures lingering and loitering on every doorstep, leering at every white woman that walks by. Dude, okay, so for about what would you say, honey? A couple months now at least, I've been going to sleep listening to the complete works of H.P. Lovecraft. And I gotta tell you, man, prior to getting the complete works of H.P. Lovecraft, I was not 100% like aware of just how racist he was. Like, I knew that he said some off-color stuff. Like, I knew that there was a cat. Like, he had a cat, and then there's a cat in one of his stories named N-Word Man. But I thought, like, okay, it was probably more common back then for people to
Did
use.
you see that comic on the subreddit? Where there's like this monster coming out of the sky, but he just sees this Mexican. Like, oh, I must write about this.
Yeah. Dude, there's this story. There's a bunch of them, to be honest with you, but there's this story that I'd never read before by Lovecraft called The Horror at Red Hook. And Red Hook is just like this New York neighborhood for immigrants, right? And the whole story, it begins with, I shit you not, and I'm paraphrasing, because I can't even begin to speak like H.P. Lovecraft writes. That dude must have had a thesaurus in front of him the entire time he wrote. But the story starts, I believe that if it is possible for man to travel forward on the evolutionary track, then it must be possible for man to travel backward on the evolutionary track. And that there are darker things in our past than we would like to admit. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a racist story, isn't it? And fucking A if it isn't, dude. The whole story is about how there's this cabal of Asian and black people living in Red Hook who take over a church and start doing some kind of African voodoo ritual in it that summons demons that infect all of the other colored people in the neighborhood. And it's literally just a book about like how black and Asian people destroy everything that they touch because they're primitive. And he like expresses his disdain for them by saying that their primitive ways summon demons and shit. But really, it's all about just like him not liking driving around the streets, because he goes to like endless lengths in that story, describing like groups of people like hanging around in public, like white people do in white neighborhoods, and he's just like, legions of leering, dark-skinned, big-lipped males with yellow eyes, lolling in every doorway, sneering as you pass, whispering secrets to one another. You're just like, this fucking guy, man, holy shit, he had a complex.
Well, even like in one of the normaler stories, like where it's about someone like trying to raise the dead, one of their like recently dead people, he had to describe them as like freakishly long arms.
Oh yeah, because they
like face or whatever.
Yeah, they dig up a dead black guy. It's in Herbert West Reanimator.
Yeah.
And it's a story about a dude that's trying to bring the recently deceased back to life, and it's actually a pretty good Lovecraft story. But one of the dudes that they do the experiment on, one of the first successful experiments that they do, is on a black corpse. And before they even raise the guy and make a monster out of him, he's described as like an ape monster, basically.
Yeah.
Like, he goes to great lengths in discussing like how different he is from the other corpses that they've worked on, and his features are simian and this, that, and it's just like, holy fuck. I know he had a cat named N-Word Man, I mentioned it. He had a cat named that, and there are a couple of stories, at least one that I've heard, where somebody has a cat named that as well. He's also a fucking, like, I didn't realize, and I guess maybe I should have, just because of, like, how well known he is for using really, really florid language. But he's a total fucking snob. Like, some of the stories, I'm trying to remember the name of one of them. One of the stories that I've listened to a couple of times now, the first half of it, and it's long. It's like a 2 or 3 hour read. And like the first hour and a half of it are him just describing like snobbish, upper crusty white people things. And how well-heeled a person is, and how well-bred a person is. And it's just like literally an hour and a half of him talking about how genteel society is, and how genteel this is, and how ladies are supposed to act, and how men are supposed to dress, and how men are supposed to spend their free time, and how women are supposed to spend their free time, and how rich people give endowments to the arts, and rich people have balls, and they get together and they drink expensive liquor, and they, like he just goes on and on and on, and it's basically just like a description of what it's like to be really white and wealthy in Rhode Island for like an hour and a half, and then the story starts. You know what I mean? He was just such a he was so caught up in the snobbery of upper crusty whiteness. Hey Paul, have you watched Disenchantment? No. His mid-length stuff is his best. I mean, my favorite story of his is The Shadow over Innsmouth. It has, I guess, some pretty negative racial implications, but they're pretty well hidden by the story. He doesn't really talk about racial issues much in that story. He just makes monsters out of some of the town folk and describes them very much like he describes black people sometimes, but they're fish people that come out of the ocean and shit. That's a pretty good one. That one's very visual, and it's very like, I don't know, it's got like a quick-paced, pulse-pounding nature that most of his stories don't. The Shadow over Innsmouth catalogs this, and once again, it starts in a very snobbish way. Catalogs this well-heeled, well-to-do guy who has time to take sabbatical and do an anthropological study of the white settlements along the Miskatonic River and on the coast of Rhode Island. And he discovers this little town that's not on any maps in between Arkham and some other town called Innsmouth. And he just is positively, overcome with curiosity about the people that live there, because he sees some of them getting on the bus and they look kind of weird. And so he goes there and he starts to study it a little bit, and he learns from one of the only normal people in town that it's basically a giant, old ones worship site where, it's all part of his Cthulhu mythos. So they worship Dagon or whatever the fuck, and they become fish beasts, and they've taken over the town and all of this other shit. And he has to escape from the town. Like, the townspeople know that he knows, but there's this veneer of civility where they're trying to get him like, oh yeah, well, the bus is broken that'll take you out of town, but you can rent a room. And then, it's him escaping from the town. And it's really like, especially the last half or so of the story is pretty pulse pounding. Definitely not the type of stuff that he normally wrote. I think it's some of his best work. My second favorite story, after now having heard them all, is definitely At the Mountains of Madness, which is a more academic and a very slow-paced story, but it has a grand scope that a lot of his stories don't have. Yeah, it's very lore-dense story, and it really explains the old ones, or the star-headed ones, these kind of creatures that all make up the Cthulhu mythos, these aliens that came to this planet and see, the whole H.P. Lovecraft idea is that a group of aliens with the power to kind of travel through space on their own land on Earth, colonize it, and seed it with life in order to feed their biological needs. And then there's other aliens that come, and there's a war that goes on between the old ones and the Cthulhu spawn. And then there's an uneasy truce, and they split up the world, and there's all this ancient history behind things. And then a lot of the people in Lovecraft's stories are bumping into relics of that ancient world in one way or another, whether they realize it or not. And At the Mountains of Madness is about an archaeological team who realizes 100% what it is that they've stumbled upon. They're not just one of these people who comes adjacent to it, like the main character in The Shadow over Innsmouth or The Horrid Red Hook or whatever the fuck. They're, the characters in At the Mountains of Madness literally discover a deserted city of the old ones on the Antarctic continent behind like an uncharted mountain range. Yeah, it's got that story is pretty good. I like it a lot because it's got tons and tons of the Cthulhu mythos explained within it. Like it's kind of like a Rosetta Stone for the rest of his work. It's a good place to start if you've never read a Lovecraft story because it gives you a good primer on what he's talking about later. Because he'll mention things like shuggoths and never explain to you what the fuck a shuggoth is. Shuggoths are introduced in At the Mountains of Madness and explained as being these creatures that were created by the old ones in order to be servants. And they are like modular creatures. They can be bred to have different appendages for different jobs and stuff like that. And one of the mistakes that the old ones make is that they breed the shuggoths to be more and more intelligent so that they can do more and more complex tasks. And then the shuggoths have an uprising. So pretty interesting stuff. I mean, yeah, you can read like secondary stuff, but I would really recommend just getting a complete works or getting the complete works on audiobook like I've got and listening to it because I don't know, man. It's kind of fun to fill in the gaps for yourself, and the more I've listened to it, the more I have come to understand how forward-thinking it was. In certain ways. I'm not talking about, obviously, the racism and the classism and shit. I'm talking about this idea of an alien race seeding life on Earth and leaving behind these relics. It certainly wasn't new to Lovecraft, but it was definitely something that he expanded greatly upon. And probably influenced horror, well, not probably, he influenced horror and science fiction writers for a generation or more. So it's really interesting to listen to, but man, dude was fucked up. Dude was just, you can hear the fear. That's the fucked up thing about, and maybe kind of the interesting thing about reading Lovecraft is you hear what's inherent in racism in Lovecraft. And it's fear. It's like fear of the unknown, fear of the other. And it comes out in various ways in his work. And it's like a mask off moment for racism because it's the honest to goodness truth of the mind of the racist. Behind all of the hate and vitriol that they show for marginalized people is just a fear of those people. It's a fear of losing a sense of themselves and a fear of those people supplanting it in some way, a fear of those people taking over. It's all unsubstantiated fear of the other. And H.P. Lovecraft is great to read if you want a mask off moment for that, because he takes it literal. Like he takes that fear and admits it in his stories in a way that he probably thought was painting black and Asian and brown people in a very unflattering light, but really, honestly, reads more like a psychological study of a very fucking frightened man. Like a very fucking frightened man. Can you easily see the stories you read in your mind? Yes. Especially if an author is very good at description, I can picture what they're doing plays out like a little slideshow movie in my mind. I remember the first time I experienced that was when I read the book Hatchet in like the 3rd or 4th grade. I can't remember which grade I read that book in. 3rd grade, probably. I read this book, Hatchet, which is still one of my favorite books of all time, by Gary Paulson. And he describes this area that the main character, Brian, who is the victim of a plane crash in the Canadian, Arctic Circle shit, just out in the middle of nowhere in Canada. He's the sole survivor of a small plane crash. He's a teenage boy. He has to learn how to live on his own. And I swear to you, there's a scene in that book that's one of the still to this day, I think, one of the most frightening scenes ever written in a book. He can see the tail of the plane that has crashed out in the lake. And it takes him a long time to recover from his injuries and to learn how to catch fish and to learn how to subsist himself. But once he gets to a point where he has beaten nature to the point where, okay, he's got a belly full of meat, he's strong enough, he can swim out to the plane and get into it and see if there's emergency supplies, a radio to get help, et cetera, right? And he's afraid that the plane will sink and he will lose his chance. So he goes out there, he hacks his way into the side of the plane with a hatchet. Hence the name of the book, the Hatchet. He has a hatchet. It's the only tool that he has. He cuts his way into the side of the plane with a hatchet. He gets into the tail. He finds some stuff, and then he's looking around and he kind of swims down into the plane. And there's this amazingly descriptive scene where the pilot is described as he sees the pilot still sitting there in the chair, all of the flesh picked from his bones by the fish, just a little bit of hair stuck to the skull, and the skull and head is just kind of swaying in the current. And yeah, it just fucking, just like an insanely, I can still picture it in my head right now. I can still picture it in my head as I'm talking to you, and it's been probably 3 or 4 years since I've read Hatchet. Hatchet is a one-night read for me. I can start it and 3.5 hours later be finishing it up. It's a really quick read, and it's one of the fucking, in my opinion, one of the best books ever written. It's one of my favorite books. But yeah, that was the first time I remember really getting a visual element that came with the book in describing the lake that Brian set up shop on, and describing the woods around it, and describing Brian's shelter, the way that the corpse and the plane looked, the way the plane's tail looked coming up out of the water, the way Brian's raft looked that he builds in order to use as a platform to load things off of the plane, etc. All of that stuff is just so vivid in your mind.
Man, I got screwed on required reading. I feel like I didn't read like 75% of the books that most people are made to read in school.
What was your reading list? Do you remember what?
We had to read Anthem. Like the beginning book of Ayn Rand.
Oh my God.
You had to read that out loud in class. And write essays.
In what grade though?
Like 9th grade.
What was your younger books?
It's really like Holes, I think, was one.
Holes?
Yeah.
Did you read Where the Red Fern Grows?
Some people did, but not me. I think I got messed up because I moved and I was in like the fancy classes or whatever.
Well, I mean, fuck, man. I mean, that sucks, because my younger reading list, there's so many good books in that I never would have read otherwise.
I read To Kill a Mockingbird on my own, so by the time it was finally assigned, it was like my 3rd time reading it.
Yeah.
I guess you read The Scarlet Letter. That was one, like another high school one.
That's a good one. My high school reading list was really good, too. I read 1984, Brave New World. I read Huckleberry Finn. I'm trying to remember what else my reading list was in high school, but...
My teacher got in trouble because he was teaching Genesis to the junior English class.
See, I don't know how I didn't run into shit like that. I lived and grew up in an area that was predominantly conservative, rural, and all of that shit. And I never once had a teacher that tried to crack the Bible in a fucking class. It just never happened. That's just crazy. Or like introduce something overtly political like Ayn Rand. Oh, God. Just weird to me. Just weird to me that...
We read The Odyssey. That was one.
Yeah, I mean, that's... Yeah, I remember reading The Odyssey. And that's a good piece of required reading.
Like, I never read... what's it? Like Animal Farm or anything like that.
Yeah, we didn't get to read Animal Farm in high school.
Or Grapes of Wrath.
We read Grapes of Wrath. That's a great book, man. Holy fuck, that book is good. Yeah, we read Grapes of Wrath. It's not an easy book to read. It's pretty dense, pretty long. But yeah, we read Grapes of Wrath. It's an AP English book. Lord of the Flies, yep. I think I read Lord of the Flies in like 8th grade. Or maybe it was freshman year.
I mean, Red Badge of Courage is good.
Yeah.
I ended up just having that because my grandma had a shit ton of books and she'd send me home with like a dozen every time I visited her.
Dude, you chew through books crazy. You do. Like you're a voracious reader when you get into a book. Like I'll see you reading twice. And when I first see you reading, you'll be like, you'll have that much book that you've gone through. And then, like, later in the day, you've got half the book open. And I'm like, whoa. You blow through them. I'm more of like a chapter by chapter, couple of chapter reader. It's pretty rare for me to get, like, so engrossed in a book that I just... I like to, like, read a few chapters, ruminate. Go to sleep, wake up, read a few chapters, think about it. I don't know why, but I've been really obsessed with Lovecraft lately. I've got all of these books, these audiobooks, and a bunch of tokens on Audible that I could spend on new books and shit. But I got that fucking complete works of Lovecraft, and I've just been listening and re-listening.
Well, I mean, the reader definitely has a good cadence too.
There's two or three different readers, but they're all part of the H.P. Lovecraft Preservation Society or whatever. So they got really, like, you have to get good readers and people that know Lovecraft in order to read Lovecraft, because he uses words that, like, your average fucking person isn't going to know how to pronounce or use properly.
I struggle with the audiobooks because of just how I read normally.
I did it first, honestly. It was hard for me, like, because I've really kind of transitioned now more to audiobooks than direct reading. And it was hard for me, and it really is dependent on the cadence of the reader. I've gotten a couple of audiobooks where I'm like, I just can't get into this. Like, the Dune reader is really good, or the readers that they use for Dune are really good. But, I've just run into a couple of books where I was just like, I can't deal with this. But if they get a good reader, somebody that has a little flair and puts a little bit of fucking acting into it as well, it can be pretty evocative, for me. But it took time for me to get into that. It took me a while before I could listen to an audiobook rather than read.
I think too, it's like, I was trying to re-listen to, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and when you already know, like, the twist, so you wanted to get on with it already.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I've now heard every H.P. Lovecraft story ever written, at least twice. And I still feel like I'm pulling things out of them and hearing things. And coming up with things that I personally want to think about out of it. Do audiobooks ever do different voices for characters? Because that would be annoying. Oftentimes the best audiobooks, like take the audiobook for The Stand, for example. You have one reader, but he will do different affectations in his voice for each character, and they become recognizable, and it's really good. So the reader is very talented. I don't know who it is that reads it, what his name is, but it's very talented at doing accent work and doing like putting on a female affectation that doesn't sound mocking. He doesn't sound like I'm talking like a girl, but he puts on an affectation to his voice that's softer when he's using, you know what I mean? And it adds a lot of character to the read. Listen to a language older than words on audiobook. That's a rough book. Literary genius and war hero L. Ron Hubbard. No, I've missed out. Tell me more. All the books that were advertised to me as a kid were garbage teen hero stuff like Hunger Games and Percy Jackson. Made me hate books until I found good stuff. I mean...
Well, Percy Jackson's almost written for kids with ADHD. Like, the main character has, like, ADHD.
Sure. I honestly don't know. I haven't read those books. I know that when I was a kid, I became aware at a pretty early age that there were different kinds of books. When I was a kid, the kids' books that were super popular were like books of short stories, usually short, scary stories to tell in the dark, had a whole series of books. So those were like kid-centric books, right? Written for kids. Also, choose your own adventure books. Those, I think, are still popular today, but those were wildly popular back in the 80s when I was a kid. So those I looked at as kind of like filler books, if that makes any kind of sense. They're just kind of like watching an action movie that doesn't really mean much. You know what I mean? It's like good fucking turn your brain off and read type of stuff. And then there are books that are trying to say something other than be entertained. And I learned the difference between those two types of books when I was little, and I learned to appreciate both. Sometimes you just want some rot gut. I can understand that. Yeah, Hardy Boys. Yeah. I read a lot of Hardy Boys novels. They were like the boy version of, what's her name? Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie.
Oh.
Like, so, or not Agatha Christie. Who was the female detective?
Oh, Carmen Sandiego.
No, she's evil. Carmen Sandiego is where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Who's I don't know. Anyway. Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
Thank you. The Hardy Boys were kind of like Nancy Drew, but written for little boys, because they were like detectives that got into stuff and they drove a cool car. Yeah, Nancy Drew, yeah. Yeah. You okay there, Phoebe? You have a fucking stroke or something? Phoebe's a little stoned, I think. Yeah, different Hardy Boys. There was a tag team, Matt Hardy and his brother or whatever the fuck, but no. Not the WWE wrestlers, the Hardy Boys books.
Oh yeah, Animorphs.
I'm a little
past your time.
Yeah, a little too old to have jumped on the Animorph train. Yeah, I missed out on the Animorphs. There was really nothing I like that when I was a kid that I can remember. I mean, like our cartoons were kind of like that, like Transformers. And I guess there were books for those, but I never really got into like reading the Transformers and GoBots books and like that kind of serial novel type of stuff. For me, was mostly came out in cartoons. No, I missed Goosebumps by that much. My biological sister's 3 years younger than me, and she was all into the Goosebumps books. So I was like that close, but I missed them. I really don't care. I haven't read any of the Goosebumps books. Yeah, I've heard Goosebumps is good, but I just never got into them. Let me go get a log or two here. Stoke this bad boy. You what? I'm just stoking the fire.
We're talking all about books. Maybe I'll go finish mine.
Yeah?
Get a little bit more into it. Come on, Dee.
Amelia is reading the Neil Asher Spatter J series.
The Voyage of Sable Keach.
Yeah. You go inside with Mama. It's too cold. You go. Good boy. Oh, that fire feels good. Yeah, books are awesome, man. You ever, like, this will happen to me sometimes. You ever get to a part of a book that is such beautiful description that you read it over and over and over again to build that picture in your head? The first time I remember really doing that was the first time I read The Lord of the Rings. Right after the party escapes the mines of Moria, and thinking, of course, that they've lost Gandalf, they enter the woods of Lothlorien. And there is a long 10 or 15 page description and history of the woods of Lothlorien that is some of the most fucking beautiful shit. And it comes right after Gandalf is killed, right? And the party feels at their lowest. They feel like they've lost their leader, their guide, the one that started this whole thing, and they feel like they can do nothing. And then that is like his eulogy. It's so beautifully written. The description of Lothlorien is what we get instead of the characters doing some cringy eulogy of Gandalf. And the way that Tolkien describes Lothlorien is the most beautiful thing. You have to, even if you don't read the book, you have to read Through the Mines of Moria and the Lothlorien chapter that comes after it. That is some of the most beautiful writing that's ever been done. I remember the first time I read that, I read it over and over and over and over. And it ends, that ends so beautifully. That chapter ends so beautifully that Aragorn gazed at the glade and never again came there as a mortal man. he walks away from this glade that he's looking at, that he knows has all this history. And we're just told at the end of the chapter that he never goes. He never sees it again. He dies before he sees that again. And it's just such a beautiful way of ending the chapter. You finished your gardening from earlier. Well, congratulations, friend. Yeah, the pale blue dot has come up, I think, in 3 streams in a row. It's interesting that it's re-entered the consciousness again after not hearing about it for years and years and years. What it shows me is that people are starting to think existentially. You know, taking the temperature of the chat and seeing it come up independently 3 or 4 fucking times in the last 2 to 3 streams that I've done shows me that people are starting to think in a different way. That is a very good sign. They're stopping long enough to think about not just their lives, but the place of all of our lives and the place of all of us and where we live. And that's good. We need people to unbury their fucking heads from the sand. Yes, I've heard of Daryl Davis, the clan deconverting man. And yes, he talks a lot about how fear is inherent in racism. Absolutely. He has that story that he tells, and he's told it a billion fucking times in a billion different talks about meeting this Klansman. And he managed to get this meeting with a Klansman because he's got a name that sounds like a white guy's name. He's, this guy Daryl Davis wants to interview you. Okay, I'll do it. And he describes how, he walked into the room and this Klansman guy he sees that he's a black man, and how there was this tension in the room. And Daryl had somebody there that was with him, and this Klansman leader guy had a goon that was with him. And there was this moment where, they sat down across from each other, and it was just like real fucking tense. And then the ice, how like if you have ice in an ice bucket, it like settled. You know how that happens, like when the ice melts and then collapses a little bit in the ice bucket? Just that happened, and everybody in the room jumped. Like, holy shit. Because of the tension in the room and the fear inherent in that. And that happening caused them to laugh, and that broke the ice and allowed them to have a conversation. So you see what I'm talking about. You can't describe a more textbook racist than somebody that is like a grand cyclops or whatever the fuck in the Klan. All right? So that dude was so afraid of Daryl Davis. And Daryl Davis, when he walked into that room and felt the fear coming off of it, admits he was so afraid of that man. And that was the barrier between them, was fear. This all plugs directly in, by the way, to contact theory. Daryl Davis, what he uses in order to quote unquote deconvert Klansmen is contact theory. Cyclops, lol. Like, that is actually a fucking... That's actually one of the things in the clan, is the Grand Cyclops. But anyway, yeah, fucking... He uses contact theory. This is like he tells a story, and I've never heard Daryl Davis say the word contact theory, but I'm pretty sure he's aware of it. He tells another story about how he was driving around with this Klansman guy who he'd befriended, kind of, and he was getting a ride to meet that guy from this other dude, this other white supremacist guy, and he saw that guy was carrying a gun, and he asked him, he said, why do you carry a gun? And the guy, he had met this dude before, and they had a rapport, and the guy said, for black people, basically, for so I don't get robbed, just in case. He said, well, what makes you think you're going to get robbed at all? He said, well, not by you. He said, well, why not by me? I'm a black person, right? And he said, well, no. Just like the animals is what I'm talking about. The ones that are, and he's like, do you think, well, what, do you think do you think I act like an animal? Like, I was like, well, no, but you're different. It's like the guy's cognitive dissonance was eating itself in front of him. And it's like, and that's what he did. He just like kicked people's gears into spinning up like, hey, like, does not compute. Racists don't think very much. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. They don't think very much about race. And using that very fucking method where he doesn't even like overtly go after this person's beliefs. He just sits down and hears them out, tells them what he believes, develops a rapport and a friendship with these people. And then just through contact theory, suddenly they realize that everything that they've been told about black people is wrong. That black people are not animalistic or, fucking instant criminals or whatever it is they believe. Because they see Daryl Davis, who's none of that. He's a musician. He's a well-spoken dude. He's polite. He's courteous and receptive to courtesy. He sits and listens. He doesn't judge. And they're like, oh, fuck. And using that, this one dude has got like, what is it, like 100 fucking scalps or some shit? He's got like 100 clan robes. 100 clan deconversions, or whatever you want to call it. Have to talk nice for the white man. That's not what man, way to miss the fucking point. Daryl Davis doesn't talk any different than he normally talks. He doesn't use any different cadence than he normally uses. He doesn't he talks exactly like he talks. You fucking idiot. Gotta clean up your speech to talk to the white. It's just like, fuck you. It's like we're talking about a dude that took literal Klansmen, like over 100 of them, and talked them out of being Klansmen. And you're whining about his methodology. Like, go fuck yourself. Do nothing. Then what were you saying? Anyway. Be right back. Yeah, context is tough on the internet, so I get a lot of fucking bullshit in here. So if I took your comment in the wrong way, I apologize. I'm not sure what your other point was. I'm not sure what the other fucking... how I was supposed to read that comment. Words. Text can be a bad way of direct communication. I gotta tell you, man, if there was some way of us doing this via voice that didn't devolve into... See, here's the thing. I get the feeling that there are a lot of people that interact with me here in ways that they might not do if we were in public, like or not in public, or face to in a more fucking intimate setting, like an audio communication, right? So we're in fucking a Discord room or some shit doing this instead. And I get the feeling that there would be a certain amount of people that would overtly dominate the conversation. The extroverts among you would overtly dominate the conversation, and the introverts among you that appreciate the social barrier that the text to me thing implies would be super quiet and never get to fucking say anything. So there is a pro to the way I do things here as well. Well, I wasn't even really describing a problem. I was describing a benefit to the way that I do things here. You know, but there is the problem of contextual fucking misunderstanding. Like, I have a hair trigger here because, number one, if I didn't, people probably wouldn't come to watch, you know, at least in as much numbers as they do. And I don't blame them. I have kind of a hair trigger in real life. I'm the type of person that takes things a certain way, and, you know, sometimes I'm wrong. A lot of times I'm right. But I don't hold back my reactions here. But I also, you know, as can be expected from somebody who doesn't hold back their reactions and goes off on people, I draw to myself a lot of bullshit. Like a lot of, like, memers and people that are just here to provoke a reaction and stuff, but don't really have the skill to get anything other than fuck you, you're banned. You know what I mean? Like, that is, and so it makes me snap a little bit towards the negative on a comment when context is fuzzy. You know, it is what it is. It's part of the show, though. I mean, it's considered by many a badge of honor to be banned, or at the very least, fucking dressed down by me in a very mean way, a nonchalantly mean way. So look at it that way, you know, and know that no ban here is ever permanent. I do regular but not scheduled or announced mass unbans on the channel. I clear the ban list relatively regularly, so realize that it's all a game of ping pong here. This is the way I've chosen to handle my chat, because the other way of doing it is either like full lockdown mode where everybody's afraid to say something, or complete unrestricted Twitch chat nonsense where I can't pull a fucking reasonable comment out of the constant spam. You know what I mean? So this is how I walk the tightrope, is with my liberal ban policy and my liberal unban policy. Do you think anyone has cried because of you banning them? It has to have happened at least once. Dude, at least one time somebody had to have been like as worked up as fuck having some conversation with me. At least one time. I'm not saying a bunch of times, but at least one time somebody had to be like worked up as fuck having an argument with me, and maybe I was just not getting it, or maybe they felt I wasn't getting it, and then they got fucking nuked. And you know that like all that rage had to go somewhere, and there are some people it just comes out of here. You know what I mean? It has to at least, I'm going to say it's happened once. Shut up, Lord Zayden. Paul, what's the future going to be like when humans can not only swap body parts for better prosthetics, but can also enhance their brains, essentially making some superhuman? Okay, let me read that again. I'm too stoned. Enhance. You're talking about transhumanism. Okay. Yeah, we've talked about this before. I don't really want to go into it tonight, bud. I'm sorry, Bo. This is a conversation that we've had like a bunch of times, and I feel like it's still pretty fresh, and I don't want to fucking stick my foot in the fresh cow patty. Let it get nice and hard, and then I'll step in it again, okay? We'll whip it all up into a froth and make a nice fresh cow patty out of it. We'll rehydrate that motherfucker, but let it dry on the vine. I feel like it was not that long ago that we did a long-ass fucking blah, 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 blah about futurism and shit. And I'm not trying to fucking gatekeep conversation in here. It goes where it goes. If more people want to hear about it, then they can ask. But if it's just you, Bo, I just can't do it again. I'm not in that headspace tonight. I'm in a different place. Would you rather fight off 5 raccoons or 10 geese? You're banned. I hate stupid, dumb fuck, empty head, hypothetical fucking situations. I tell you what, bro. Go play fucking totally accurate battle simulator. Go download that game and put a duck versus a fucking fish or whatever the fuck and satisfy your curiosity, you dumb motherfucker. Shit. Fuck me, man. Are you looking forward to the Lord of the Rings on Amazon? What are you talking about? That was satisfying. Yeah, it was. I gotta admit, that felt good. I'm glad that other people picked up on the energy. Yeah. What's your favorite this? What's your favorite that? They're doing a prequel show about the Second Age. Oh, neat. I hadn't heard about that. Oh, well, I'll check it out. I'll definitely check it out. I mean, it kind of worries me that it's Amazon doing it, but we'll see. Love me some salt. Who don't? Who don't love to salt it up? Can you explain how you came up with the name for the channel and the thinking behind it? What are you talking about? The current name for the channel? So Highdeology? So I had, it really isn't that fucking complex. This whole, like, arm of this, well, all right, I guess it's a little more complex than you think. This really started as a thing I used to do back in the fucking day on this channel called Stick Ham and Beer. They're still up, most of them. I've taken out a couple of them. But most of those are still up. And that's really where this kind of shit started. Well, I started doing these rooms on Stickham, which was a way for people to get face to face and talk. And then I started thinking like, well, I could stream this. So I started making rooms and having people come into them. And then when YouTube, started with Google Plus and you could have people join you on live streams automatically, I started doing that. And because I had a smaller audience at that time, it worked better because the troll quotient was way slower. We still had a lot of trolls, but it was fun. We had like 8 people that would come into the room, and if somebody wasn't talking a whole lot, I'd kick them out, and it would make room for somebody else to join. And if somebody sucked, I'd kick them out. And you know what I mean? It was the start of this. And then I really didn't do a whole lot of streaming or much of anything here on this channel towards the beginning of DP. I started on Periscope doing a show I called Highdeology. And that's just based around just a little turn of phrase. I don't know where I picked it up or who coined it, but having a idea. It's something I would talk about a lot. I still do. Sometimes you get stoned and you have an amazing idea. And it was all about sitting around and getting baked and talking about things. And it was really the first this type of format stuff that I did, where it was all text and it's me just sitting here, blah, 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 right? And then when I decided to move the show off of Periscope because it was dying, and move it and start just doing live streams here on YouTube, I was going to call the show Highdeology, but there's already some big show out there named Highdeology, and I didn't want to get a cease and desist order, and so I renamed it Highdeology because there wasn't a channel named that. To be quite frank with you, the term has become synonymous with what we do here. So Highdeology has become an act rather than a show. And I could very easily change the channel name back to Paul's Ego. And very well may, to make it easier for people to find me. Highdeology is just the name of the show, Just picked up Dune, finished the first chapter. It's awesome. Thanks for the recommendation. I'm a very slow reader, so I got to follow along. Audiobook. It's 20 hours worth, every penny. Cool. Tell us something we haven't heard about Brett Keane. Come on. He's irrelevant. It seems you haven't heard that, so I'll let you know. He is irrelevant. He's not worth talking about. You seem to have never heard that as well, so there's something you may not know. He's not worth talking about. Bringing him up makes you look stupid. That's something you may not know about him. Constantly or even casually bringing up his name or invoking his existence makes you look fucking stupid. I don't think you've heard that about him. Let's see, what else can I tell you about the guy that you may not have heard? Watching paint dry is more interesting than him. You may not have heard that. Go get a job. I don't know. That's something that you maybe have not heard. Go get a hobby. That's something that maybe you haven't heard about him as well. Do you think that you can ever make another Cinema versus Cynics video? Yes. Tell me I've never heard about Bret Hart. That's a time. Do you Xbox, bro? That's a ban. That's an anime avatar. That's a dumb fucking question. That's a fucking straight out immediate ban. No problem, Alfred. Glad I could help. Do you PlayStation, bro? It's every day, bro. It's every day, bro, with the Disney Channel flow. Yeah, dude, anime avatars. Thin ice, yo. I mean, I don't immediately ban anime avatars and shit, but I'm immediately sus of them. I'll tell you that much. My name is... I can't even read it, bro. I can't even read Nick Bompton, dude. I can't even read Nick Bompton, bro. I can't even read it without laughing. My name is Nick Bompton, and no, I'm not from Compton. England is my city. It's every day, bro. With the Disney Channel flow. I can't even read the name Nick Bompton, bro. I can't do it. My name is Nick Bompton, and no, I'm not from Compton. He's fucking A, bro. Rap was right that day, yes. We all were, really. It wasn't just that genre. We were all exposed. We were all fucking... It was like we were fucking wangled by the same fucking flasher, you know? It was like we were... We all have a fucking traumatic experience that we share. We all heard the dude say, my name is Nick Bompton, and no, I'm not from Compton. We all heard the dude say it. We all heard him say it. We all heard him say it. Don't act like you didn't hear him say it. You heard him say it. So it's like we all have a thing that happened to us in public, you know, where some dude walked up and was like, woo, or whatever it is, you know. We got flashed. And we're like, shared trauma, yeah. My name is Nick Bompton, and no, I'm not from Compton. England is my city. We were wangled. We got wangled as a culture. I was flashed on a walking trail in the forest once. It was really creepy, dude. I can imagine. Yeah. That's what happened to us all. Like, we were all walking through the forest of the internet, and then Nick Bompton and Jake Paul came out. Oh, damn, we got some geese. You guys hear them? Oh, sure you did. Yeah, there they go. I see them in the sky now. They're a V. Go geeses. Honkers, dude. I haven't heard any of them before, so... Honkers, dude. England is my city. Pass it to Jake Paul, 'cause you know he gets litty. I got bit by a goose once when I was 11. Well, you shouldn't have walked up to the fucking goose, dumbass. What business did your 11-year-old ass have going near a fucking goose? So you learned your lesson. You stay away from the goddamn goose. They're not your friend. They're not mean, miserable birds. They're defensive birds, and they don't need to be fucked with. I want to kiss them too, Marshall. But they don't want it. And kissing somebody or something that doesn't want it that's not good. You're not supposed to do that. I can respect that. I don't want to be kissed out of nowhere. I don't want somebody to jump my fence right now and plant one on me. You know what I mean? I got to extend the courtesy. Yeah, well, you can kiss a cappy right on his little lips, and he ain't gonna give a shit. Cappies are the chillest animal. You can kiss a cappy right on his forehead. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna find a place and I'm getting a fucking capybara, so help me God. If I gotta go to fucking Uruguay to realize this dream, I'm going. What the hell is a cappy? A capybara. Go look it up, Lord Zayden. You're about fucking 10 seconds away, Lord Zayden. I'm sick of your shit. Shit or get off the pot, Lord Zayden. Yeah, dude, cappies. My friends fed geese, and the geese surrounded us. I was very scared. You should have been. You about got rolled by a bunch of geese. Any new fights around my place? No. It's like a rat beaver dog, yeah. They're the largest rodent. And they are also the chillest animal in the world. Goose gang. Paul riding a sleigh pulled by capybara with Dinor riding shotgun, yes. Dude, me as Santa, Amelia as Mrs. Santa, Dinor and Cricket dressed up in their finest winter clothes being pulled by our capybaras to deliver salt to the world. Dinor is going to have a cappy brother or sister. Yep. That's what I want. Do you like rabbits? Sure. I don't got a problem with rabbits. Like I said, I like every little creature. There's no little creature I don't like unless it's a parasite. I don't like parasites. Lampreys and leeches and shit. Fuck that. Had to move myself a little bit closer to the fire. Black widows are kind of cute. Is that because you saw somebody draw one with little anime eyes and blushing cheeks and shit somewhere? Is that why you think that they're cute? Because in that case, I advise you to go and find a big, giant, full-grown black widow and pick it up with your hands and give it a little kiss. This whole generation has been ruined by anthropomorphized animal shit. Like, people see these little they see creatures, like, with little anime eyes and, like, little rosy cheeks, and they're like, oh. It's like, bitch, that's a lamprey. That's not aw, that's like, ew, get it away from me. But look at its little rosy cheeks and the little expression on its face. They don't make expressions. The only expression a lamprey has is a big open maw. That's the expression they make. Aww. Like, what the fuck is wrong? What's wrong with us? Some insects and arachnids can be cute, but most are nightmare fuel. I guess. Reaper leviathans are kind of cute. No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're terrifying. No, they're not. They're terrifying. The only animal I find cute are the ones that can't kill me. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. I got no problem with 99.9% of spiders. It's those big, gangly, shiny, poisonous, lurking fucks that I don't like. I like the little tiny spiders with the big eyes. Those are jumping spiders. They're fine. Don't forget about venomous snakes. See, I feel differently about snakes than I do about spiders. I'm closer to a snake than I am a spider. Okay? If you go back down the evolutionary tree, you're going to find a common ancestor between me and a snake before you find one between me and a spider. Let's put it that way. You're going to have to go down the trunk a ways and go up a whole fucking different branch to find a common ancestor between me and a spider. I can empathize with a little snake doing his thing. I like snakes. A spider, I don't know what's fucking going on in a spider's head, okay? I don't pretend to know. I don't want to know. The cosmic spiders are coming. That's all I do know. That's all I'll tell you. We only like stuff that reflects us. Is that narcissistic? I guess. I'm turning into Jack Nicholson. Do you realize, Wendy, that when you come in here, when I'm working, when I'm typing, whatever the fuck I'm doing, that you're distracting me? It's a pretty good impression. That's just mimicry. That's not really an impression. Remember when the lady that played Wendy got exploited on Dr. Phil? Yes, that was very fucking sad. And just reason number 9,000 why Dr. Phil is a piece of shit. Have we done Dr. Phil is a piece of shit yet on DFF? Didn't we put him up against somebody? Wasn't it like Dr. Phil versus who's the biggest huckster thing? Man, he is a fucking piece of shit. Yeah, it was Dr. Phil versus Dr. Drew. That's true. Both pieces of shit, by the way. Or was it Dr. Oz? He is a piece of shit. I believe you're leading up to the big O. The big O? Did you hear that Dr. Oz was going to be a guest on Jeopardy? Don't know if they changed their mind after the online outcry. I don't know either. Dr. Oz should be banned from the fucking airwaves and fucking banished from society, forced to live in a hut in the woods, subsist upon the charity of others. Banish him. Thou art banished. If thou would banish me, I would be happy of it. Why dost thou continually contempt this court? This court is worth nothing better. We are gone. Ellen episode would be good too, since apparently she's a bad person. I mean, people have known that Ellen is a piece of shit for a long time. I don't know. That's been my favorite thing, but not enough people have played fucking Disco Elysium. Fucking doing the lizard brain and impression. Ellen DeGenerate. Most heroes usually let us down. It's best not to have them. That's true. Ellen looks like a realtor. She kind of does. Took me a week to get through day 1 of Disco Elysium. Dude, I fucking loved that game. Dude, I've cried at like 3 games in my life, and Disco Elysium is one of them. I broke down into fucking inconsolable tears towards the end of that game. That game was so good, so moving, so awesome, so cool. I want to play it as soon as they do the fucking big update or whatever it is. Yes, I'm getting the expansion. Oh, fuck yes. One of my favorite games of all time, let alone of the last 20 years. I had a fucking amazing time playing that game. Came along at a time where I really needed it. Had me fucking bawling at the end of it. Did you lose weight? Your face looks thinner. Yeah, I've been slowly but surely losing weight. Deedly, 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 deedly. What were the other games where you cried? I cried at the end of, well, not at the end. I cried when Aerith died in Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation. I'm trying to remember what the other game that made me cry was. I cried at the end of fucking Lunar the Silver Star when the protagonist speaks for the first time. He screams out Luna's name. I remember crying. Diablo 3, yeah, no. I cried for a different reason at Diablo 3. You cried in Minecraft? I believe it. I believe it. You cried when the dog dies in Fable 2. That was a pretty sad moment, I'm not gonna lie. What's the biggest rage you've ever had at a game? I've told you guys this before, but this is dope. So there's a game called NBA Street. And NBA Street Volume 2 came out, and I went out to GameStop the day it came out, and I bought it. And I got really good at it. And I had this friend, Brian, who we'd played the first one together, and he was always beating me. And I got really good at NBA Street Volume 2. I felt like I was just like total swag at it. And then I invited him over, so I was going to ambush him. And I didn't take a game off of him. He literally sat down and played it for the first time and just beat me over and over again. It was like 11-0. And then finally, I silently got up, ejected it from the fucking Xbox, took it out of the Xbox, put it back in the thing, put it up on a shelf, and then the next day I took it back to GameStop and sold it for like $15. And for store credit. That's the saltiest I've ever been at a game. I've never, like, I've gotten real ragey at games before. I've quit playing games because I got mad, but I've never gotten so salty that I took the game back and sold it at a GameStop for $15 when I paid full price for it like 10 days earlier. That is salt. That's true salt. I sold the fucking game. Dude, I had a friend that that got like real ragey at games, and he would get like, because he was so the psychological games you play with your friends when you're sitting on the couch with them, you talk shit, right? Well, he would do that too, but it would get to a certain point where he would start taking the shit talk seriously. This is kind of a fucked up story. I just remembered this. So I've never been into like the FIFA games, right? Never been into soccer games. I had this friend that was really into them. Same guy that I'm talking about that was real sensitive about video game shit talk. This was at the time when I was like, I'll just come out and say it. I was abusing opioids at this time. I was popping Vicodin like they were aspirin. And so I was I was chilling at my house and he brings over FIFA, whatever the new, I can't even remember what FIFA it was, like FIFA 07 or FIFA 06 or some shit, whatever it was, right? And I'm sitting there like out of my mind, just. And he's like, yeah, man, you want to play? And I'm like, sure, whatever. Throw me the controller. He throws me the controller and he sits down next to me. And I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the opioids or something. I'd never played a FIFA game in my life. But I was swagging on him. Like I was beating his fucking ass at the game. Like I was making goal after goal after goal after goal, and I'm just sitting there, and I was talking shit the whole time, and I wasn't even aware of the shit that was coming out of my mouth. But I was saying shit like, I can't even believe you fucking brought this game over here for me to play, dude. You realize I'm half asleep? Oh shit, hold on, wait a minute. Go! Oh shit, I'm sorry, man. Why did you bring this fucking game over here? You must be stupid to bring this game to my house. You must have just wanted a spanking. Did you just want a spanking? I was just shit talking the whole fucking time. And he walked over to me and he put his finger in my face and he goes, "You're a motherfucker." Grabbed his game and went home. We didn't talk for a couple of days. I had to call and apologize. Don't do drugs, kids. It is a pretty funny story in retrospect, but it was mean. I was saying mean shit. Well, you have to be mad, bro. It's just game. It's just game. Why you have to be mad? Why you so mad? It's just game. Why you have to be mad? How'd you get off the pills? I did not abuse for long enough to build up a full, like, fucking opioid dependency. I got off of them quick enough to avoid the worst of that. I supplemented a lot with weed when I was coming off and weaned myself pretty quickly off of it. And now I don't ever touch opioids unless I'm in too much pain to fucking exist. My threshold for opioids now is if I can't exist without them, I'll pop one, but I know better than to fool around with those drugs. Have you heard some people get off opioids with kratom? Yes. I don't have any experience with it, so I wouldn't give any advice, nor would I advise anybody. Like I said, I caught my opioid habit pretty fucking early. I abused for probably about like 4 months, 5 months, when I realized that it was destroying me. And I stopped. My real introduction to opioids happened because of that fucking cyst story that I told you guys, honestly. I first got a taste of abusable opioids because I was so laid up with that surgery. And they gave me such a strong daily, multiple daily, if I needed it, opioids that they just filled like candy for me. And I existed in an opioid haze for like a month recovering from that surgery. And that was the experience that made me seek it out again. What are you uhing about, dude? That's the second time I've seen you type The third time is going to be you being fucking banned. What are you uhing about? I fucking gotta tell you, dude. What the fuck? Benzo, alcohol, and opioid withdrawal are actually the worst withdrawal experience you can possibly go through. Yes. Paul's opening up. It's like, fuck. What a drooling fucking idiot. Brain dead fucking nobody. It's like the most fucking ridiculous cry for attention. It's like, it's literal fucking newborn baby level trolling cry for attention shit. Fuck, man. Fuck. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. Oh, fuck, man. Oh my God, man. I can't. I fucking can't anymore, man. You guys are fucking... You drove me fucking insane, okay? You drove me fucking crazy. Maybe this was your plan all along, but that was it, man. That pushed me over the fucking edge, bro. That kid literally crying like a baby in the fucking chat, typing over and over again, just for the attention of getting banned. It fucking broke me, bro. It broke me. It broke me. It took me over its knee and it broke me in half. It was probably the best troll that's been in here in months. It was just, it absolutely fucking devastated me. I'm incapable of thinking about anything else. No, it worked better than anything else has ever worked. It's fucking amazing. I can't even know what to do now. I don't know what to say now. I've lost all faith in humanity. I've lost all faith in everything. It's over for us. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Oh my God. Oh shit. Give him a wrench. No. You guys don't get to vote on wrenches, okay? This is not a fucking democracy. This was never a fucking democracy. Chat made a man with no hope lose all hope. Yep. It happened. Anyway, that's it. What else can I say?